Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. President Trump arriving in Beijing for meetings with China's Xi Jinping. What's at the top of his agenda and how he's expected to address China's role in supporting Iran. A South Carolina court overturning the double murder convictions of Alex Murdaugh, a disgraced lawyer convicted of killing his wife and son. We have the update. On World Falun Dafa Day, we learn about what impact the practice has had on society and the resilience practitioners have shown in the face of persecution.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Wednesday, May 13th. I'm Kevin Hogan. President Trump is now in Beijing for a summit with CCP leader Xi Jinping. Trade is expected to dominate discussions, while the Iran war and human rights are also likely to take center stage. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
President Trump arriving in Beijing for a two-day summit with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. It marks the first visit by a U.S. president since Trump's own visit back in 2017, and is Trump and Xi's first face-to-face meeting since the Iran war began. And President Trump, upon leaving the White House on Tuesday, saying that he does not need China's help on Iran talks.
I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win it one way or the other. We have a lot of things to discuss. I wouldn't say Iran is one of them, to be honest with you, because we have Iran very much under control. We're either going to make a deal or they're going to be decimated.
The president, though, saying that he and Xi will have a long talk about Iran giving China's significant oil purchases from Iran. China buys about 90% of Iranian crude oil and has been helping Iran evade U.S. sanctions. Just recently, the U.S. sanctioned a major Chinese oil refinery and 3 Chinese companies accused of providing satellite image to Iran during the war. Recent reports also suggesting that China is still supplying Iran with drone and missile components. The Treasury Secretary last week calling out China for propping up the Iranian regime.
Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism, and China has been buying 90% of their energy, so they are funding the largest state sponsor of terrorism. But more importantly, Iran, the threat of attacks from Iran has closed the strait. We are reopening it, so I would urge the Chinese to join us in supporting this international operation. You know, there are things moving through the UN that China and Russia have blocked.
Meanwhile, trade, President Trump says, is at the top of his agenda. And China wants lower tariffs from the U.S., and the U.S. is seeking purchase commitments worth tens of billions of dollars, according to U.S. officials. Meanwhile, the White House is stressing that the U.S. will not compromise on national security. President Trump brought with him over a dozen tech and business CEOs, including Elon Musk and NVIDIA's Jensen Huang. Trump, who in the past complained about China's lack of access and unfair treatment to U.S. businesses, says he will be asking President Xi to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. Also with the president is Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was sanctioned by Beijing back in 2020 as a senator for supporting dissidents in Hong Kong and Uyghurs in Xinjiang. He's also introduced legislation to stop the CCP's forced organ harvesting targeting Falun Gong practitioners. As Beijing is forced to do a diplomatic workaround for the top diplomat to come to Beijing, Rubio told NTD that the administration will not shy away from human rights abuses in talks.
Long been a leading voice on human rights in China, and so including religious persecution and forced organ harvesting. So President Trump prepares to meet Xi Jinping next week. Do you expect human rights concerns to be on the table?
Well, we always raise those issues, and they remain true. And I think we've proven in some cases it's most effective to raise them in the appropriate setting. But we always raise those issues. They're important to us, among with others, of course. But those issues remain prominent in our view and in our conversation about these things. And we'll continue to raise them in the appropriate forums.
Meanwhile, Beijing denied NTD's visas to China, given NTD's coverage of the CCP's human rights abuses. President Trump has vowed to bring up the releases of Hong Kong media entrepreneur Jimmy Lai as well as Pastor Jin Mingyu. It comes as bilateral talks are set to begin on Thursday. Reporting by Iris Tao, NTD News.
Human rights will be on the agenda during President Trump's visit to China. One issue the president says he'll raise is the imprisonment of Hong Kong publisher Jimmy Lai, who was recently handed a 20-year sentence under Hong Kong's national security law imposed by Beijing. Amnesty International calls the sentence a travesty of justice and an attack on press freedom. To learn more about this, I spoke with Mark Clifford. He's the author of The Troublemaker: How Jimmy Lai Became a Billionaire, Hong Kong's Greatest Dissident, and China's Most Feared Critic. I asked him what he expects to come out of the U.S.-China summit for jailed democracy activist Jimmy Lai.
Well, I was delighted to see that Secretary of State Rubio underscored the U.S. concern with human rights. President Trump has personally spoke about Jimmy Lai's case. He also met Pastor Ezra Jin's daughter recently. He's met Jimmy Lai's son. So the president is, I think, quite focused on some of these issues and in ensuring that it's not business, but that there's also a serious attempt to free Jimmy Lai. I mean, Jimmy, of course, is one of only of hundreds of political prisoners in Hong Kong and hundreds of thousands of unjustly detained people around China. But of course, he's become emblematic, a real symbol of the fight for freedom of Hong Kong and Chinese people. So delighted to see the president bringing this up. Hope that he continues to press Xi Jinping, that it's not just some box checking exercise, but that he secures Jimmy's freedom and gets a general kind of easing of tensions, especially in Hong Kong, which was such a free city and needlessly destroyed by the Chinese.
Echoing your point that President Trump is laser focused on human rights that are being abused in China, and at the same time, Jimmy Lai's son, Sebastian Lai, is saying that President Trump must use this opportunity to free his father, and that the president is the only person who could do so. How could President Trump go about this persuasion? Would he likely offer something or make an ultimatum of some kind, however big or small?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to make any ultimatum. I doubt that would be very productive with General Secretary Xi Jinping. In the past, there usually is something offered. I mean, there are trades of various sorts that we've seen for unjustly detained people. There were 4 in the waning years of the Biden administration who got out. We sent at least one corrupt Chinese official back to China. We had the case of the 2 Michaels a few years ago, Canadians who were taken hostage because China was unhappy that one of their executives was being detained. The U.S. was involved in a 3-way prisoner swap. We've seen Belarus, where President Trump got over 100 people out, and that was in exchange actually for a rare earths deal. So a deal could take a lot of different forms, but I do think it will be transactional, which again fits with the president's negotiating style. I should add that he would actually be doing Xi Jinping a favor if Jimmy Lai were let out. It would remove a needless irritant in relations between China and really the rest of the world. I mean, Jimmy is such a brave man. I've known him for over 30 years. He's a newspaper guy. He's nonviolent. He's a Catholic. He just wants freedom for the people of Hong Kong, freedom for himself, of course, although I think he's personally less concerned about that. And he wants to hold China accountable for its promises. It promised Hong Kong that it would continue to keep its freedoms after the transition from British rule in 1997. China broke those promises, and I think we're not going to let Xi Jinping, the world's not going to forget as long as Jimmy Lai is in jail. So again, Xi Jinping would be removing a needless irritant at no cost to himself if he let Jimmy out.
And Mark, to your point, Jimmy Lai, he's suffering ill health and he's in solitary confinement, so very brutal conditions that he's been in. And President Trump, if he were able to strike some kind of deal to have Jimmy Lai released, that wouldn't be the first time we've seen him use diplomacy to either bring about conflict resolution or to just handle something that's very completely unreasonable in the eyes of international law. Now, we've seen the ruthlessness with which the Chinese regime squashes any dissent. Will Beijing respond in any positive way now that President Trump is bringing this issue into the spotlight?
Let's see. I mean, we have seen at least Jimmy's long trial is over. It was almost 5 years from the time they threw him behind bars until they actually convicted him on this national security charge, which was a joke, really, honestly. As you said, Amnesty International and many other organizations have said it was a travesty of justice. But it's done, be that as it may. It may have been a kangaroo court, but the kangaroos are gone now. Jimmy has been sentenced to 20 years. So I think it's quite appropriate, and the time is right for a resolution now that the so-called legal proceedings are finished. The Chinese have, in private, I'm told, softened their attitude towards Jimmy. I mean, they think he is a bad guy. They think he's responsible for 2 million Hong Kongers coming out in the streets in 2019. I think that's a real misreading of Hong Kong. But maybe things are softening a little bit. I think it would have to be in the context of a good summit. If it's a bad summit, we're not going to see any movement on human rights issues. If it's a good summit, then I think it would be easy for Xi Jinping to throw in the freedom of Jimmy Lai, perhaps the freedom of Pastor Ezra Jin and others. So I think a lot of it is going to depend on the broader mood of the summit.
Well, we definitely know that a 20-year sentence for someone who is of Jimmy Lai's age with his physical condition is very bad. That could be a life sentence. Hopefully something is done to overturn that and give some recourse. Mark Clifford, thank you for coming on our show and helping us understand this.
Thanks for your interest, as always.
Coming up, a South Carolina court overturning the double murder convictions of Alex Murdaugh, a disgraced lawyer convicted of killing his wife and son. We have the update.
This is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
Call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the difference you're making in a young person's life. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org.
Good to have you back with us. Alex Murdaugh is set to get a new trial on charges he killed his wife and son in 2021. That's after the South Carolina Supreme Court overturned the prominent attorney's high-profile convictions today. The justices cite former county clerk Becky Hill's comments to jurors. The defense said her statements such as, quote, "watch his body language," implied Murdaugh's guilt. The attorneys say that prevented him from getting a fair trial with an impartial jury. Prosecutors acknowledge Hill spoke to some jurors, but said the comments were minor. Murdaugh was convicted in March 2023. The High Court's unanimous decision doesn't mean the 57-year-old Murdaugh will walk free. He's serving state and federal sentences for financial crimes. Producer prices accelerated last month, signaling renewed inflationary pressures ahead for consumers. A new report shows the index rose to 6% on an annual basis in April. Experts say a big reason is that reduced oil supplies are driving up the cost of shipping. Diesel prices are now at an all-time high in 4 Midwestern states. AAA reports they're averaging $6.13 a gallon in Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. Diesel costs about $5.87 in Wisconsin. Already, a new report shows the Consumer Price Index has risen to an annual rate of 3.8%. That number signifies wages are no longer outpacing inflation for the first time in 3 years. The Strait of Hormuz is vital to the flow of oil in the Middle East, and it's effectively closed. And more on the price of oil and gas, Secretary of Energy Chris Wright says the administration was fully aware of the potential for increased energy prices at the outset of the Iran operation. He's testifying before the Senate Armed Services Committee today. Here's part of his exchange with Ranking Member Jack Reed.
Now, it's really impolite to ask for your private discussion with the president, but you were certainly aware of the potential for a disruption of the oil trade. Is that fair?
Oh, a whole administration was well aware of that risk.
Thank you. Now, what do you think we can do or should do to try to mitigate the impact on working homes throughout the country?
Yeah, obviously ending a decades-long nuclear program in Iran is a prickly and tricky endeavor, as we're all seeing right now. One way or the other, the United States will reestablish the free flow of energy trade through the Straits of Hormuz. Virtually every nation in the world is aligned in this endeavor, and most particularly all of the Gulf states, all of the neighbors are aligned with this in this endeavor as well. So it will get done, either in an agreement, in a deal with Iran, or without a deal with Iran.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, in the Strait of Hormuz, Central Command says U.S. forces have redirected 67 commercial vessels since the beginning of the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. CENTCOM says it's also allowed 15 ships carrying humanitarian aid to pass. In addition, 4 vessels were disabled to enforce compliance. The military says these actions demonstrate that U.S. enforcement remains fully active. And a look at some of yesterday's election results. Republican Senator Pete Ricketts cruising to victory in Nebraska's Republican Senate primary. He defeated 4 challengers by a wide margin as he seeks his first full Senate term. Ricketts, endorsed by President Trump, will face Democrat Cindy Burbank in November. But many state Democrats are backing independent candidate Dan Osborne instead. Meanwhile, in West Virginia, Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito easily secured renomination with President Trump's endorsement. Democrats selected public interest attorney Rachel Fetty Anderson to challenge Capito in the general election. Anderson defeated former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Kessler, who had been widely projected as the frontrunner among 4 candidates. Health authorities are responding to a deadly hantavirus outbreak aboard a cruise ship in the Atlantic. The CDC saying the overall risk to the American public remains low. The Department of Health and Human Services says 1 U.S. passenger showing symptoms tested negative for the virus. The condition of their partner is not clear. They are both in quarantine in a biocontainment unit in Atlanta, Georgia. All the other 16 American passengers are currently without symptoms. The CDC says exposed passengers are being monitored by public health officials in multiple states. In France, a woman infected with the hantavirus is reported to be critically ill. At least 9 cases of hantavirus have been confirmed in people who were aboard the ship, with 3 deaths so far. The World Health Organization says there is no sign of a larger outbreak. Drug overdose deaths are continuing their downward trend in the U.S. The CDC reports fell by about 14% last year. This marks the 3rd consecutive year of declines. That's unprecedented in recent history, as drug OD deaths have only gone down in 5 of the past 30 years. There was a huge drop of 27% between 2023 and 24. The biggest contributor has been fewer overdoses involving fentanyl as the opioid crisis eases. But There were still almost 70,000 overdose deaths in 2025. It remains the leading cause of death for Americans 18 to 44 years old. National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard and other intelligence officials are investigating U.S. funding to overseas laboratories that handle biological research. The move is part of an effort to stop potentially risky experiments with viruses. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the investigation.
Initial searches of intelligence files showed the government has provided money to more than 120 biolaboratories in over 30 countries. Officials say the laboratories funded include facilities in Ukraine that may face security risks because of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, along with other labs researching highly contagious pathogens. Some of that work may have involved gain-of-function experiments with limited oversight and visibility from U.S. authorities. A 2022 Defense Department document reported the United States invested about $200 million since 2005 to support 46 Ukrainian laboratories, health facilities, and diagnostic sites. Intelligence officials say new guidance from Gabbard has expanded research into overseas labs and uncovered additional details, including on clinical trials. Gabbard says the findings have raised ethical, financial, and national security concerns. Gabbard issued a statement saying, "The COVID-19 pandemic revealed the catastrophic global impact research on dangerous pathogens and biolabs can have. Yet despite these obvious dangers, politicians, so-called health professionals like Dr. Fauci, and entities within the Biden administration's national security team lied to the American people about the existence of these U.S.-funded and supported biolabs and threatened those who attempted to expose the truth." She said that the Trump administration is working closely with partners across the government to identify where these labs are, what pathogens they contain, and what research is being conducted to end dangerous gain-of-function research that threatens the health and well-being of the American people and the world. President Trump criticizing the World Health Organization for its actions during the COVID pandemic.
And they were making the wrong diagnoses. I was the one that said it came from Wuhan. They didn't say that. They refused to say that because they were totally owned by China.
The president saying now he believes it is conclusive the virus originated in Wuhan.
But I said that on the first day because I saw satellite pictures with body bags all over Wuhan, literally all over Wuhan. So I said that they lied to me or they didn't know.
In May of last year, President Trump signed an executive order aimed at strengthening the safety and security of biological research. The order ends current and future federal funding for dangerous gain-of-function research in countries such as China and Iran, as well as nations with weak research oversight. The White House says the measures will drastically reduce the potential for lab-related incidents involving gain-of-function research like that conducted on bat coronaviruses in China by the EcoHealth Alliance and Wuhan Institute of Virology. The White House also criticized previous oversight policies and accused the Biden administration of allowing risky gain-of-function research with insufficient safeguards, including federally funded research projects in China. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Now alleged massive fraud in a major foreign student work program. Federal immigration officials say they have uncovered irregularities in a work program used by foreign students studying in the United States. ICE says the investigation focused on the optional practical training program known as OPT, which allows foreign students to work in the U.S. after graduation.
We've encountered cases involving espionage, biological threats, intellectual property theft, visa and employment fraud, and even scams targeting elderly Americans, all perpetrated by individuals abusing their status as students. Today, we are announcing that we have identified over 10,000 foreign students who claim to be working for highly suspect employers. And that's just among the top 25 OPT employers.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons says investigators found empty office buildings, locked storefronts, and addresses linked to hundreds of supposed student workers. He also alleges some foreign students obtained work authorization through the program but never appeared at the jobs they claimed to hold. ICE investigators uncovered suspicious financial transactions moving money across multiple countries. Republicans critical of the OPT program say the findings should outrage every American citizen looking for a job. and that the program puts the interests of multinational corporations ahead of American workers. A longtime immigration enforcement official is set to become the next acting director of ICE. The Department of Homeland Security says David Venturella will replace acting ICE Director Todd Lyons at the end of May. Venturella has nearly 4 decades of federal immigration enforcement experience, beginning his career as a deportation officer in Chicago in 1986. He previously served as acting director of the ICE Office of Detention and Removal Operations and later led the agency's Secure Communities program. The leadership change comes as the Trump administration continues aggressive immigration enforcement operations nationwide. Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin recently saying ICE agents will continue pursuing illegal immigrants while trying to keep operations out of the headlines. Coming up, lawmakers honoring law enforcement during National Police Week. House Speaker Mike Johnson leads a vigil paying tribute to fallen police officers in Washington.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan green vegetable omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-514-7779 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-514-7779. 1-800-514-7779. Call now.
I think building kindness in children from a very young age is foundational to their growth, to building their character, to allow them to share with each other in a classroom and in a space that is safe, like in the Ganjin World platform.
I'm a New York State certified teacher. Currently, I teach in a public school in upstate New York. And I'm also a Ganjin World Campus channel creator.
I've been fortunate to use Ganjin World's Teachers Premium channel for the past 3 years, and it's been shaping my curriculum and teaching, both in the classroom setting and in our home school.
If children can learn to support each other from a very young age and encourage each other and help, it'll only strengthen the future of our society.
You can just assure yourself everything on Ganjin campus, on Ganjin World, it will be safe, it will be clean.
Sparked many positive changes in our students.
Ganjin Campus equips educators worldwide with powerful Teachers Premium channels and high-quality learning resources to help children learn and grow safely online. When you support one teacher, Ganjin World matches your support to help another. Support Ganjin Campus. Scan to learn more.
Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I am so proud to call you my son.
Hi there, good to have you back with us. The Trump administration's anti-fraud task force is withholding $1.4 billion in federal funding for new hospice and home health care providers. The White House says the decision follows a sweeping crackdown on fraud uncovered in California, Minnesota, and other states. The move means new home health care and hospice providers won't be able to enroll in Medicare for at least the next 6 months. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services will use the 6-month moratorium on provider enrollment to identify and remove suspected fraudulent providers from Medicare. The Trump administration is already investigating alleged fraud in several states. Last month, the agency suspended payments to over 700 hospices and more than 20 home health agencies based in Los Angeles suspected of fraud. New York and New Jersey are cutting prices for bus tickets as both states host this summer's World Cup. New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced the cut today. Round-trip shuttle bus tickets to and from matches are now $20, down from an original $80. In addition to the price cut, Hochul said New Yorkers will have priority access with 20% of bus tickets for each match reserved for New York State residents. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill announced a similar price cut for New Jersey Transit. Riders traveling from New York's Penn Station to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey will pay $98, down from $105, and an initial $150. The World Cup kicks off June 11th and will be hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. First-year students at the United States Naval Academy taking part in one of the school's longest-running traditions today, the annual Herndon Monument Climb. Hundreds of plebes worked together to scale a 21-foot granite monument covered in nearly 200 pounds of vegetable shortening and sprayed continuously with water. The goal? Replace a plebe cap at the top with an upperclassman's hat, marking the end of their freshman year. The challenge dates back to the 1940s. It's designed to test teamwork, leadership, and perseverance. This year's climb lasted just over 2 hours, with 20-year-old Augustus Russo of New Jersey ultimately reaching the top after several failed attempts. As the hat was placed on the monument, the class erupted in chants of "Plebes no more." National Police Week is underway, a time set aside every May to honor officers killed in the line of duty and to recognize those serving across the country. House Speaker Mike Johnson leading a vigil on the Capitol steps as families of fallen officers share their emotional stories. Here's more.
Members of Congress, law enforcement officers, and surviving families gathering on the Capitol steps yesterday for a candlelight vigil honoring fallen officers. Speaker Mike Johnson opening the ceremony by honoring the sacrifices made by officers nationwide.
Today, we're here to honor the service and the sacrifice of America's law enforcement personnel. We're here because every American who lives in freedom and safety has a duty to remember the story of those who provide it for us.
Johnson warning the country is facing an existential fight.
We've seen yet another attempt on the president's life. We've seen repeated attacks on synagogues and churches. We've seen horrific, heartbreaking tragedies. There is a battle right now between good and evil, and we all feel it. And in spite of the darkness, every American town and city is undeniably safer and stronger because of that thin blue line.
But the speaker also pointing to a drop in officer deaths nationwide under President Trump.
While even one officer killed in the line of duty is too many, we are thankful to report that law enforcement deaths hit an 80-year low in 2025. That represents a 25% decrease from 2024 to 2025.
Among the families attending, Lindsay Timmons and her daughter Chloe, whose husband and father, Officer Tyler Timmons, was killed in the line of duty in 2021.
I wonder every day how different my life would be if he was still here. Would he still be helping me make jokes and helping me scare my mom? Would he still be a cop? Would he be helping me look for my first car? However, I do not even get to experience or know the answer to that question because he was taken away from me.
Tyler Timmons was ambushed while responding to a stolen vehicle call. His wife says the man who shot him was a repeat violent offender.
I stood beside the love of my life as the ventilator assisted with his last breath. As I sat on the floor of that hospital trauma bay, I remember thinking I could just stay there forever. There was no reason to get up.
Timmons saying survivor organizations helped her family rebuild after the loss.
Cops reminded me that I was not alone. They gave my daughter and me a community of people who understood this kind of loss without explanation. People who knew the weight of the folded flag, the knock at the door, the empty chair at the dinner table, and the lifelong ache that follows.
At a separate Customs and Border Protection memorial ceremony, DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen honoring agents killed in the line of duty.
The great demonstration of love is someone that's willing to lay their life down for somebody else. And I mean, we have loved ones standing out in front of me that your loved one showed the greatest love to all of us. To all of us.
Speaker Johnson pledging to continue supporting officers and their families.
To the families of those fallen heroes and those who continue to stand guard in our communities, we have your back. We'll continue to advance policies here that support law enforcement and bring justice to those who seek to harm officers.
National Police Week events continue across Washington this week, including memorial services and tributes.
Coming up, President Trump arriving in Beijing for meetings with China's Xi Jinping. What's at the top of his agenda and how he's expected to address China's role in supporting Iran.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now. shenyun.com.
With Select Specs £6 specs, you can get 10 pairs of prescription glasses for just £60. That includes frames, prescription lenses, and delivery free to your door. And what makes this really special is each pair can have a different prescription. So it's glasses for everyone. SelectSpecs.com/£6. 10 frames, all with prescription lenses and delivery for just £60. You don't get that on the high street. Right now you can save an extra 5% with offer code CG5OFF.
Today's seniors are enjoying life more than ever before, and part of that comes from the independence of driving.
However, car insurance for older drivers becomes more expensive the older we get.
Just because I'm a senior, and maybe you are too, do we really have to pay outrageously high insurance rates? Well, the answer is no, we don't.
When was the last time you checked to make sure you're paying the lowest available rate? Well, maybe it's time to give your car insurance a tune-up, just to make sure your rates are running properly.
You change your oil, you change your tires, well, maybe it's time to change your car's insurance company.
Are you paying too much for your auto insurance? If so, you're just throwing your money away.
So the only way to really know if you're paying too much is to call the number on your screen.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
You'll speak with a licensed insurance agent. They may have an insurance plan that could lower your yearly premiums by hundreds of dollars.
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
Come on, call now.
You may be able to save a lot of money, maybe hundreds of dollars a year. Just call the number on your screen and speak with a licensed insurance agent.
Yes, it is possible for seniors to save on car insurance. You could lower your premiums by hundreds of dollars a year.
As a responsible driver, you always check your gauges, right? And you check for other cars and pedestrians. You check your oil and you check your mirrors.
Well, now is the time to check on your auto insurance rates. You need to make sure that you're not paying more than you need to. Call the number on your screen right now.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
Welcome back. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons is giving remarks in recognition of the more than 20,000 hardworking ICE officers during Police Week. We're bringing you there now.
And live in a way that proves their sacrifice mattered. For us, remembrance is not passive. It's a commitment to ensuring that our fallen officers and agents will not disappear into history, and that future generations know what they gave, and that as long as this agency exists, they'll remain a part of it. So today, we honor them, we mourn them, and we thank them. With that, I'd like to invite up Deputy Director Charlie Wall.
Thank you, Director Lyons. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here with us today. We are here for a shared purpose, to honor the memory of the brave men and women of ICE and its legacy agencies who gave their lives in service to this country. Public service, especially in an organization like ours, is never easy. It asks a great deal from the people who choose it. And yet, generation after generation, courageous men and women continue stepping forward because they believe in protecting this country and serving others. Today is about sacrifice. Today is about duty. For those of us connected to law enforcement, this week carries a weight that is difficult to put into words. Moments like this force us to pause and reflect on the true cost of public service. This isn't abstract. We're talking about the lives of real people who choose to serve something greater than themselves. The men and women we honor today came from different backgrounds, different offices, and different generations, but they shared the same commitment, a commitment to protecting this country and keeping its people safe. They understood that service demands sacrifice, time away from loved ones, missed milestones, long days that turn into even longer nights. And in these cases, they made the ultimate sacrifice. Today, we remember not only how their watches ended, but how they lived with courage, integrity, and devotion. We also recognize the family, friends, and colleagues who carry their loss forward every day. And while no ceremony or memorial can erase the pain of that loss, we're here to ensure that the men and women we honor today are never reduced to merely names etched into the wall outside those doors. They were people. They were colleagues, friends, and family. And their service and sacrifice matter. Let us remember that this nation's strength has always depended on the men and women willing to serve something greater than themselves. The fallen officers and agents we honor today accepted that responsibility with courage, humility, and an unwavering sense of duty. They gave this country their time, their energy, their dedication, and ultimately their lives. We must never forget their sacrifice, and we must honor these men and women through the way that we serve, the way we lead, and the way we look out for one another. May we never take their sacrifice for granted, and may we always remain worthy of it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my distinct honor and privilege to introduce the Honorable Secretary of Homeland Security, Mr. Mark Wayne Mullen.
Is there a way to turn the teleprompter off? Guys, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. Using the word honorable in front of my name makes most people laugh that actually know me, especially my family. You know, we're here to celebrate, you know, the ultimate, thank you. We're here to celebrate the ultimate sacrifice that law enforcement agents have paid on our behalf, right? And it's always tough to speak at these because it's a memorial service in some degree, but it's actually a celebration of life. Because I've said this a lot, and I'm going to continue to say it, that there is no better example of love than when someone actually lays down their life for you. And there isn't a single law enforcement male or female agent or officer out there that isn't willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice for people they don't even know. And this is a prime example of that. And there isn't one single law enforcement agent or officer out there that doesn't have family that loves them. And their family loves them as much as my family loves myself, and every agent out there has people that are praying for them every time they walk out of the house, and they want them to come home, but they also know that the duty that they swore to do was to make sure that everybody else gets home first. And that's wonderful. I mean, if you think about that, it's wonderful because they're willing to pay the extra sacrifice for us to be safe. And yet, for some reason, ICE has been demonized. And I walked in as Secretary of DHS, but also walked into an agency that 18 months ago, most American people didn't even know about. And all they knew that you guys might exist, but they really didn't know because you wasn't on the TV all the time. And I know morale is taking an absolute tank. And I hate it because our attitude reflects everyday sacrifice that we get to truly show the American people because we have the greatest gift in the world. We get to protect the homeland. As a whole, we get to protect the homeland. And we all know that we've decided to sign up for something that we're willing to truly pay the ultimate sacrifice for because we truly love our job. I love what I get to do. I love the opportunity that I get to represent such an awesome agency that is tasked to take care of literally the worst of the worst. I love that. I get this opportunity. I hate that I'm not going to be able to work with Todd. I give him a hard time because he's a short-timer, he's leaving us. But I would love the opportunity to work with you. And I look forward to working with everybody here too. I wake up every single morning and I say, love the people, love the call. I pray for your families. I pray for you. And the biggest thing that I want to change is to bring pride back in your step every day. When you get up and you put on that badge, or you get up and you come to work in these offices, that you feel like you're making a difference because you are. You are. I promise you, you're making a difference. Every day you get up and you take somebody off the streets that shouldn't be there, you're making a difference. Every day I get up, I'm still smiling, but I'm also choosing the attitude I have when I start. I get what the media says. I could give a rip about that. I get what they say about on social media. I don't read it. I just assume everybody loves me. My wife goes, oh, bless your heart. But I don't care because what I get to do because I chose to do it, and what you get to do because you chose to do it, is make a difference. And we get to decide how we're going to address that every day, how we're going to face that pressure that's coming in. If we want to listen to all the noise that's coming from the outside to try to distract us from doing our job, it can affect you. And I don't walk away from the fact that I stand here as a Christian in front of you. I do want to admit that I'm a very flawed Christian. I'm not perfect. But my life changed when I got saved when I was 20 years old. Until then, my dad said I was more likely to go to prison than I was to be successful. Truth is, I probably was going down that path. I watched this little movie called American History X that really changed my life, and I thought I'm never going to prison after that one. But I wasn't walking down the path that I should have been walking down until I realized there was something higher, there was something bigger than myself. And it's when I dedicated my life to the Lord, but yet I still stand in front of you as a very imperfect person, but also believe in the Word too. And if you believe in the Word, then you'll believe in Philippians 4:13 is what everybody always quotes, and it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I bet you there's somebody in this room that's got that tattooed on you. And I guarantee you, if you go to most of your officers, there's going to be somebody in the briefing room that's got that tattooed on them. And it's like a rally cry, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But if you actually get into Philippians 4, it's Paul talking about choosing an attitude. He has chose to have a good attitude no matter what he's going through. He's chose to decide, even if I'm locked up, because I know what it's like to be locked up and be beaten, I can still choose to know that I'm on the right path where the Lord wants me to go. He says, I know what it's like to be free. I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to want. I know what it's like to be thirsty. and I know what it's like to have plenty to drink. So that I've dealt with every situation, and I've come to the conclusion that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And if any agency needs to hear that, it's ICE. No matter what the media wants to say, I know you're doing your job every day. And I want you to know I am proud to be part of it. I take it with tremendous pride, and I'm willing to stand beside you and stand in front of you and defend you every single day. And I mean this sincerely when I say this. I love you guys. I love your families. And I'm still going to get up every single morning and I'm going to pray for you. And how I keep my attitude straight, as I say this over and over again, I remind myself, love the people, love the call. You have to love your call or you wouldn't be here. And you do have a love for the people because you're getting the worst of the worst off the streets and you're protecting those that just want to go out and walk their streets and be safe. And you're giving them that opportunity one street at a time. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America.
President Trump is now in Beijing for a summit with CCP leader Xi Jinping. Trade is expected to dominate discussions, while the Iran war and human rights are also likely to take center stage. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
President Trump arriving in Beijing for a two-day summit with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. It marks the first visit by a U.S. president since Trump's own visit back in 2017, and is Trump and Xi's first face-to-face meeting since the Iran war began. And President Trump, upon leaving the White House on Tuesday, saying that he does not need China's help on Iran talks.
I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win it one way or the other. We have a lot of things to discuss. I wouldn't say Iran is one of them, to be honest with you, because we have Iran very much under control. We're either going to make a deal or they're going to be decimated.
The president, though, saying that he and Xi will have a long talk about Iran giving China's significant oil purchases from Iran. China buys about 90% of Iranian crude oil and has been helping Iran evade U.S. sanctions. Just recently, the U.S. sanctioned a major Chinese oil refinery and 3 Chinese companies accused of providing satellite image to Iran during the war. Recent reports also suggesting that China is still supplying Iran with drone and missile components. The Treasury Secretary last week calling out China for propping up the Iranian regime.
Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism, and China has been buying 90% of their energy, so they are funding the largest state sponsor of terrorism. But more importantly, Iran, the threat of attacks from Iran has closed the strait. We are reopening it, so I would urge the Chinese to join us in supporting this international operation. You know, there are things moving through the UN that China and Russia have blocked.
Meanwhile, trade, President Trump says, is at the top of his agenda. And China wants lower tariffs from the U.S., and the U.S. is seeking purchase commitments worth tens of billions of dollars, according to U.S. officials. Meanwhile, the White House is stressing that the U.S. will not compromise on national security. President Trump brought with him over a dozen tech and business CEOs, including Elon Musk and NVIDIA's Jensen Huang. Trump, who in the past complained about China's lack of access and unfair treatment to U.S. businesses, says he will be asking President Xi to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. Also with the president is Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was sanctioned by Beijing back in 2020 as a senator for supporting dissidents in Hong Kong and Uyghurs in Xinjiang. He's also introduced legislation to stop the CCP's forced organ harvesting targeting Falun Gong practitioners. As Beijing is forced to do a diplomatic workaround for the top diplomat to come to Beijing, Rubio told NTD that the administration will not shy away from human rights abuses in talks.
Long been a leading voice on human rights in China, and so including religious persecution and forced organ harvesting. So President Trump prepares to meet Xi Jinping next week, do you expect human rights concerns to be on the table? Or
well, we always raise those issues, and they remain true. And I think we've proven in some cases it's most effective to raise them in the appropriate setting. But we always raise those issues. They're important to us, among with others, of course. But those issues remain prominent in our view and in our conversation about these things. And it will continue to raise them in the appropriate forums.
Meanwhile, Beijing denied NTD's visas to China, given NTD's coverage of the CCP's human rights abuses. President Trump has vowed to bring up the releases of Hong Kong media entrepreneur Jimmy Lai as well as Pastor Jin Mingyu. It comes as bilateral talks are set to begin on Thursday. Reporting by Irish Tao, NTD News.